in the early 2000s, Rolling Stone magazine started using Proxima Sans, and I thought, you know, I really need to get moving on that, and I started working on the next version of Proxima Sans, which would become Proxima Nova. Late 70s, I thought I had a good idea for a typeface, and started planning it all out, and I drew it in on tissue paper, letters about that big, about 4 inches tall, which is what they suggested, and did some sample finished artwork and things like that, and submitted to the ITC review board, which is all by mail back then. Yeah, it was all done with you know, old art supplies, you know, like felt pens, inking, technical pens, illustration board, tissue paper, ellipse templates and French curves, things like that. It was an early version of what became one of my first typeface releases on digital type, which is Kundal. Because I was just drawing the individual letters, and I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I was just kind of figuring it out as I went along, and I actually made some rub-down transfer sheets of it so that I could actually set the cover letter that I sent to ITC in my font. I got a lot invested in developing fonts with fancy OpenType features, and it seems like a lot of times people don't even know how to access them. You know, some of the software, like InDesign, the OpenType features are kind of hidden on a little pop-up menu with a drop-down menu, with another drop-down menu, and another drop-down menu, and it's almost impossible for people to discover these features on their own. I guess I tend to think in terms of genres of typefaces. You know, there's certain typefaces that are exemplars of a particular genre. You know, like Helvetica is a good example, where you can make a typeface like Helvetica, but it's always going to be compared to Helvetica because that's sort of the canonical typeface of that genre. And so I tend to try to look between the genres, and think about, you know, how would something work that was not in this genre, not in that genre, but somewhere in between. One of the best examples, I think, is of the ones I've worked on is Coquette. Now, on hindsight, I mean, when I was originally developing it and had the idea for it, I wasn't really thinking of it in these terms, but on hindsight, it's basically a hybrid between a French script, which is kind of an upright, traditional French style of handwriting, and a geometric sans serif like Cobble or Futura. So I've basically taken some of the general forms, the skeletons, you might say, of the French script, and dressing them in the clothing of geometric sans serif. And you end up with something that is new, but it looks familiar. I'm Mark Simonson, and I run a studio out of St. Paul, Minnesota.